Hello everybody, my name is Ferris Biscuit and welcome back to the United Hearthstone League Weekly Recap for week number 2. We have a lot to get into this week and some things to cover at the end, so let's go ahead and get into it.
Taking a look at the matches for week 2, we had CM Plummer taking on Ziggy Sarah, we had Ben Reddington taking on Spiver, we had Ridiculous Hat taking on Andrew is Living, and we also had Sika Gaming taking on Rod Johnston. Our first match of the week saw Ridiculous Hat of the Coin Casino podcast taking on Andrew is Living of the Happy Hearthstone podcast. Hat would be bringing his Hunter, Paladin, and Mage classes, while Andrew brought his Druid, Paladin, and Hunter classes. This one would turn out to be one of the fastest matches that the UHL has ever seen, as aggro pretty much ran rampant. In Game 1, we saw Paladin by Hat take out Andrew's Hunter. From there, we had a Hunter mirror for the first time ever, in which Andrew was able to bounce back and tie it up at 1 apiece. Hat was then able to take Game 3 with his Mage against Andrew's Paladin, and then he ultimately wrapped it up with his Hunter class taking out Andrew's Druid. He then improves to 2-0 on the season, while Andrew falls to 0-2. Our next match of the week saw Versika of the Hero Power podcast taking on Rod Johnston of the Tier 5 podcast. Versika would be bringing his Mage, Hunter, and Paladin classes, while Rod opted to go with Shaman, Warlock, and Paladin. In Game 1, Rod would take the victory with his Paladin class against Versika's Mage. However, Versika would respawn, taking Game 2 with his Paladin against Rod's Shaman. From there, Rod was able to pick up a win with his Shaman against Versika's Mage, and then he was ultimately able to close it out in Game 4 with his Warlock against Versika's Hunter. He moves to 1-1 on the season, while Versika falls to 0-2, still looking for that first victory on the season. Our next matchup of the week saw Ben Reddington of the Dad Legend community taking on Spiver of the 1600 Dust podcast. Ben would opt to bring his Warlock, Paladin, and Shaman classes, while Spivey chose his Druid, Rogue, and Warrior classes. In Game 1, Ben would jump out to an early lead, taking his Paladin class over Spivey's Warrior. However, from there, it would be all Spivey. He would take Game 2 with his Druid over Ben's Shaman. He would take Game 3 with his Warrior, once again over Ben's Shaman. And in the final game, he would close it out with Rogue against Ben's Warlock. I want to point out that the casting that these two did for this match was quite unique and a great way to see the community behind the United Hearthstone League, in that they were able to jump on a call together, almost talk through their own plays, but just a sense of camaraderie and enjoyment that these two got while interacting with both chat and themselves was awesome to see, and something that I hope that we can see moving forward. Our final match of the week saw two hosts of the 1600 Dust podcast. Well, at least I thought it was going to be two hosts of the 1600 Dust podcast, but it turns out we had Ziggy Sarah taking on Fist of Jaraxxus, which apparently kidnapped Chris during the day and took his spot during the match. Regardless, Ziggy would end up bringing Warlock, Warrior, and Mage, while Chris / Fist of Jaraxxus would end up bringing Mage, Rogue, and Priest. This one would turn out to be the longest match of the week, and it was quite a spectacle, so let's go ahead and jump into the results. In Game 1, we saw Chris with his Rogue deck take out Ziggy's Warrior. From there, Ziggy was able to bounce back and take the Mage Mirror matchup. In Game 3, we saw Chris come away with a win with his Priest deck versus Ziggy's Warrior. In Game 4, Ziggy would bounce back once more and take it with her Warlock over Chris's Mage. And in the final game of the match, we saw Chris on Mage take out Ziggy's Warrior for a third time and take the 3-2 victory. Taking a look at the standings, we did see some movement for Week 2. Spivey still sits at top at 2-0. Again, he does take the top spot because he has the least amount of games won against him at 2. Hat is in second place, of course, just one game behind him. And then we have Rod Johnston and Ziggy Sarah rounding out the top 4. And then from there, we look at the bottom half of the standings for now. We have Ben Reddington and Chris tied for 5th, while Andrew and Versika both looking for the first victory of the season, tied at 7th respectively. Taking a look at the class selections for this week, we definitely see a more of diversity, but we do again see Paladin and Mage taking the top spots with 5 picks and 4 picks respectively, while the other classes range from 1 to 3 selections. From there, we take a look at the overall class selections through the first 2 weeks. We see the Shaman has already been selected and can no longer be selected until the next cycle of weeks. Mage is still to be selected once more, and we should be definitely seeing a lot of Priest and a lot of Warlock come week 3. So there should be a lot of meta-defining decks within week 3 matchups. Taking a look at how the classes performed this week, we do see that Priest and Rogue remain at the top, going undefeated for the week, while Paladin pulled up a nice second with a 80% win rate again for the week. And we do also see some classes such as Shaman and Warrior also struggling. Hunter pulling up the pack as well, only at a 33% win rate. So moving forward, it will be interesting, to see if these classes can bounce back and improve those win rates over time. Jumping into the overall statistics of the classes through the first 2 weeks, we do see Priest is the only class that does have a 100% win rate, even though it was only brought within 3 games. Coming second, we do have Rogue, while Paladin is close behind, still rocking above an 80% win rate. Warlock, did see its first play this week and garnered a 67% win rate, and Mage is still able to eke out 50%, while all the other classes and Druid, surprisingly, all having an under 50% win rate. It will be interesting to see if these classes that currently not looking so well are able to bounce back and perform better throughout the rest of the season. Looking ahead to week 3's matches, we do have Ziggy Sarah taking on Ridiculous Hat. We have CM Plummer taking on Ben Reddington. We will have Spiver taking on Rod Johnston, and we will also have Rasika Gaming taking on Andrew Is Living.
Round out this week, I wanted to make some mentions of some changes that we did make to the site. They're more of additions and not exactly changes, but we did add an overall schedule for the league that I'm going to update as I get the dates and times from the players as to when the matches are going to be held. So keep an eye out for that. And I also want to give out the weekly pick'em winner for this week. It is none other than Dawn Eidke. I might have been saying that wrong, but I will be trying to get in touch with you via BattleNet so we can get you your packs. As always, week 3 is going to be live as soon as this hits, so you can go ahead and make your picks for week 3. Other than that, there were some other things that were brought up as far as some kind of changes that some of the people would like to see as far as shoutcasting goes, and maybe having some of the fans do the shoutcasting. I'm all for it. If the players want to go ahead and have some of their fans, or any fans in general, cast some of their matches, as long as it's okay with them, it's completely fine with me. Feel free to reach out to any of the players that are involved, and I'm sure they'll give you a response and let you know, how they want to proceed moving forward. That's it for now. Thank you very much. This is Ferris Biscuit for week 2, and see you in week 3.